very important that we said Nasa first, but it was just as important that we followed it with initiative. The Meiri explains the pasuk, Tuv tam vadas lamdeini ki b'mitzvosecha he'emonti. Rebbeinu Shalom, I want to know tam vadas. I want to understand what I'm doing. I want to understand the parameters, the depth, because I already believe in it. I don't want you to explain it to me in order that I should believe, in order that I should do. The nasa comes first. But once you have the nasa, once the mitzvosecha emanti, there's an idea of tuv tam vadas. It was very fitting that Rabbi Berkowitz took care of the nasa, and I'm going to address the issue. The Shari Tshuva says in Shar Gimel that if you don't appreciate the depth and the seriousness of various averas, then it's impossible to really deal with them properly. And therefore, as a whole Shar Gimel of going into the details, the ideas behind these averas, so a person will have the nishma and be able then to enhance his nasa. Sometimes people ask, why in these inyonim specifically, inyoni arayis, Tzniyus, preachers, is the Torah so machti? Are Chazal so machti? Used to have an old uncle, an old sickly uncle, that would come from Chutz La'aretz and visit us and stay with us between Pesach and Shavuos. We have a very small home, or had a small home at least in Montedio in those days. And we had Kenai Nahara, 11 children sleeping in 2 bedrooms. 5 girls in one room and 6 boys in another room with triple bunk beds. The kid on the top hit his head on the ceiling every time he got up. And when my older 2 daughters became teenagers, they came to me and said, Tati, we can't share a room with our bratty little sisters anymore. So they came up with an idea. I had a separate house for my study. That house happened to have 2 bedrooms in it. So my daughter said, we want to move into the study and occupy those 2 bedrooms and have a bedroom each for ourselves. We can decorate and feel like young women, not little girls. So I permitted them to move into my study and to have their own bedrooms. But when my uncle came, there was no place for him to stay except in that study. It became a problem of yichud. So I told them that for the time that he's here, you're going to have to move back into the room with your bratty little sisters because of the problem of yichud. They said, Tati, this is ridiculous. This is an old, sick uncle who was our babysitter when we were babies. Are you suspicious that Chas v'Sholom is going to do something wrong? And we promise you that we have no designs on our old sick uncle. So there's no problem. So in the Maisa, there is no problem. And I explained to them 2 reasons. With this, I will use as an introduction to get into discussion of what Tzniyus really is all about. The first is very practical, simple idea that any sensible person has to understand and admit to. The Rebbeinu Shalom created us with very, very strong drives in various areas. The strongest drive a person has is the drive to survive, to eat, to survive. The second strongest drive we have is the drive between men and women. That's also a drive. drive to survival in a certain way. But the Rebbeinu put that drive in the world in order that a husband and wife should be able to mamish become one. Ishto kegufo and baal keishto. But zelo imazeh asa Elohim, and whenever there is a strong drive, it's parah, and you can use it for kedusha, or it can be the worst tumah, arayas, equal, same drive. Say that a bocher once came to a little Latvian. He had a chasna of a close relative. It was a summer. And he wanted permission to leave the yeshiva for a few days to attend his chasna and some of the Sheva brachas. And then he told him the following. He said, you have permission to go to the chasna, but tell me, the summer, are all your relatives full? Are all the women there going to be dressed properly? The bocher said, I have many relatives that are not full. The Rosh is right. Many of the women won't be dressed properly, but Baruch Hashem, I've reached a madrega where that doesn't bother. But then he said, you have rishus to go to the chasna on one condition. You call a friend of mine before you go to the chasna and say hello. The bocher assumed that this friend lived in that area and the Rebbe hasn't seen him for a while, so I'm going to give the group. An hour later, he comes back to the Rebbe and he says, I've tried that number, and it's Mistam, I got the number wrong. Because every time I try that number, I get a doctor's office. The Rebbe said, yeah, that's my friend. He's a doctor. He said, I'm a man of 93 years old and I'm blind in one eye. And these things still bother me. If they don't bother you, something's seriously wrong, you better see a doctor. Only somebody who is not living in this world will not understand that the Rebbeinu put in very, very strong titles for good reasons. But those same titles can be used negatively. And if a person doesn't protect himself and guard himself, and Chazal say the Masbiros, Rav, Marivosov, that the more a person contains himself, so the more he's able to control these titles. And the more he gives into them, the harder it becomes. And therefore Chazal saw it necessary to make siyag after siyag. We want to make seem extensive and overdone, but it's not. If you understand what a human being is. That's one lesson. The second aspect is that we have a mission in this world not to be moral only, but to be kodesh. Goyim to be moral. If you keep 7 mitzvahs, the Maral says 7 is the olam hateva. A goy just has to be able to keep the natural world not distorted, not corrupted, not murder, not steal, not be cruel, have a social justice system. And if he does that, he'll get olam haba. But a Jew who lives a life like that is not going to get olam haba because we have another mission in this world. We have to be a mamleches kohanim v'goy kadosh. What does that mean, mamleches kohanim v'goy kadosh? A kohen is the representative of the Rebbeinu Shalom to Klal Yisrael. You want to give something to the Rebbeinu Shalom, give it to the kohen. The kohen is shlucha d'rachmana and shlucha d'idam. We are the representatives of the Rebbeinu Shalom to the world. Mamleches kohanim. How do we represent the Rebbeinu Shalom to the world? Not by handing out his calling card, I represent God, you need him, give me a call. But by fulfilling the second, the goy kadosh. We have to be a holy nation. Kedusha means that every single thing we do, how we eat, how we drink, how we conduct our married life, our social burnt to the ground. He had no more business. He had hundreds of employees, most of them not Jewish. Morally, he could have told them, look, I don't have a business anymore. You don't have a job anymore. I wish you well. I built my business back. I'm very happy to offer you a job. But at this point, but he didn't do that. He kept them on the payroll. I don't know how many weeks or months until they could find other jobs. And after that, he kept them on the books so they wouldn't lose their pensions. They wouldn't lose their medical benefits. The whole world took notice of this. Every media reported, discriminated. That's Kedusha. Morally, he could have done something else. When people see that, they say there must be a God, because that's a godly way of functioning. It applies to every area of life. Yeah, it could be that staying in the same house, in different rooms, with an old sickly uncle is moral, and nothing will happen. But putting yourself in a situation where even it's possible, not probable, that something could happen, it's not Kedusha. That's not God. And we have responsibility to be God. So if the halachas of Tzniyus seem to be overdone too much, to appreciate how important they are. How important they are just from a simple standpoint of how dangerous it is. You know, nobody would say it's stopping the radioactivity, or you're dealing with radioactive material, and you need 5 feet of lead to stop the radioactive material from affecting you. Nobody's going to say, what's an inch here and there? 5 feet, so another inch, whatever. It's about 5 feet. Who is so foolish to say, well, a millimeter here, another inch there? If Chazal would convey, these are the parameters of what portions of the body have to be covered, if not, then it's radioactivity. The results could be devastating. One was foolish enough to say, what difference it made? An inch here, an inch there? Is that important? Is it that important that you have exactly 5 feet of lead? Because 1 inch less, the radioactivity goes through, and it's devastating. Let me explain to you a little bit, in my estimation at least, what Tzniyus is and what it's not. Most people think that Tzniyus is covering the body because there's something obscene, something not right about the body. The bodies have to be covered. If that would be the truth, then we most certainly should have to cover the bodies of animals. Because if a human body is something that is obscene and wrong and whatever, negative, then an animal's body is surely. And last I checked, which may not be the case anymore, but this afternoon at least, it wasn't known to me of anyone who was not to go to the zoo unless the animals are dressed. Tomorrow may be different, they never tell in this world. But so far I haven't heard anybody being not to go to the zoo if the animals aren't dressed. The only place I know in the world where they dress their pets, dogs and cats, is in Los Angeles. And there they don't bother to dress human beings, so it can't be because it's Tzniyus.